I'm going to share my screen real quick and show you all what I'm seeing here. So this assessment was developed by Jack Lesky. I think that's how you pronounce it. I met him a couple times. He is an OG in sports psychology. You can Google him. He was one of the first founding members of the U.S. Olympic Committee Sports Psychology Association members, meaning he was part of the clinical staff of sports psychology for U.S. Olympics and Olympians. I think there were about, there was a panel of them, and you had to be a licensed psychologist and you had to have experience in sports psychology. He has his own kind of center in Ohio that he does, a center for, I think Center for Athletes, and he teaches mental skills in sports psychology. He's still doing it. He's a lot older in his career. So this assessment is an older assessment that is a pen and paper that you can kind of print out and score for yourself. But what I wanted to do was just introduce the 9 skills, mental skills, that he thought were valuable enough for us to self-evaluate. And you'll each get a copy of this so you can kind of print it out and download for yourself. And just score each one as best as you can. But for now, what we're going to do for the purpose of this class is just talk about each of these skills and unpack them together. So let's take a look at this assessment and how it goes. So there's 9 of them. The directions of how to do this self-administered assessment is you read each of the descriptions, and after you read the description of each one, you write a number from 0 to 10, 10 being you really identify with this. Like, yeah, 100%, that's me. Or 0 means, no, I don't do that at all. That's not me. So 0 to 10. So for the first one, and let's just kind of go through and walk through the questions, because this is important for us to kind of keep in the back of our mind as we're evaluating these 9 skills in our own life. Attitude, 0 to 10, and just kind of think of this number for yourself. I realize that attitude is a choice. I realize that attitude is a choice. Now, if you want, as an exercise, you can write this down, or you can even chat it on where you think your number is. So we can kind of go through the question, and you could write it down. If you don't feel comfortable sharing with us, that's fine. If you do feel comfortable sharing and you want to chat it in the chat box, go ahead and write your number. And what I want you to do, how I want you to do it, is 1 for the first question, dot, and then whatever your score is. Does that make sense? 1, dot, and then, so you recognize that your attitude is your choice. Great. Coach Jay says 10. Coach Jay, way to lead it for us and set the bar so high that people don't even want to chime in now. All right. Kingston says 7. White says 9. Yeah, great. Thanks for those who feel comfortable sharing. And keep doing it. I'm going to keep going for the sake of this class, but just keep in mind what your number is. Number 2, I choose an attitude that is predominantly positive. Think about that. I choose an attitude that is predominantly positive. Okay. Tazlin 10, 8, Zoe 9, Mark 9, Eli 10. Okay. 3, I view my sport as an opportunity to compete against myself and learn from my successes and failures. Okay. I'm going to go to the next one. I pursue excellence, not perfection, and realize that I, my coaches and teammates, officials, and others are not perfect. Okay, great. People are putting in their numbers. Great. I maintain a balance and perspective between my sport and the rest of my life. Even if you play this sport as your life, meaning this is your work, your full-time work, you still keep a balance. Okay. Number 6, I respect my sport and other participants, coaches, officials, and myself. Great. Eli's actually writing on the screen. Eli, it's not going to save your numbers, so you don't need to write on the screen, bud. Thanks though. Okay, we're going to go to motivation. So motivation, number 7, I am aware of the rewards and benefits that I expect to experience through my sports participation. Number 7. 9, Lydia 10, Wyatt 8. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Number 8 for motivation. I am able to persist through difficult tasks and difficult times, even when these rewards and benefits are not immediately forthcoming. And what that means is you don't ever give up. Like you can keep going through difficult things and difficult times, even when you don't see any rewards in front of you. You're still pursuing it. Okay, Wyatt 10, Lydia 10, Zoe 10, great. 9, I realize that many of the benefits come from my participation, not the outcome. Great. Okay, perfect. Keep going. We're going to go to number 10, to goals and commitment. So you see, the first skill of a successful athlete is attitude. The second skill is motivation. Now we're going to the third skill of a successful athlete, according to this assessment, which is goals and commitment. Number 10, I set long-term and short-term goals that are realistic, measurable, and time-oriented. Time-oriented means you put a deadline on your goals. Zoe 10, Wyatt 10, Lydia 3, great. Kingston 4, great. Okay, number 11. I am aware of my current performance level and have developed specific, detailed plans for attaining my goals. Mark 7, Zoe 10, Lydia 9, Colleen 9, Wyatt 10. Eli 100. You're a funny guy tonight. All right. Goals and commitment. Number 12. I am committed to my goals and carrying out the daily demands of my training program. 12:8. Okay, great. Zoe 9. Now we have skill number 4, which is people skills, right up here on the top. People skills. Okay, number 13. I realize that I am part of a larger system that includes my family, my friends, my teammates, coaches, and others. Mark says 8. Lydia 10. Great. Colleen 10. Yeah, Wyatt 10. Great. Zoe 10. Okay, 14. When appropriate, I communicate my thoughts, feelings, and needs to these people and listen to them as well. Okay, 6. Yeah, 10 is yes, absolutely. I do this. And 0 is no, it's not me at all. Great question. Okay. Number 15, I've learned effective skills for dealing with conflict and difficult opponents and other people when they are negative or oppositional. Great. Yeah. Very good assessment, y'all. Okay. The 5th mental skill of a successful athlete is self-talk and monitoring your self-talk. 16, I maintain my self-confidence during difficult times with realistic, positive self-talk. Mark 7, great. Kingston 10, Lydia 7, great. All right. Perfect. Okay, number 17. I talk to myself the way I would talk to my own best friend. Think about how you talk to your own best friend after a mistake. And then think about how you talk to yourself after a mistake. Okay. Yeah, this one's a low one for me as well. All right, number 18. I use self-talk to regulate thoughts, feelings, and behaviors during competition. Okay, great. All right, we're going to move into mental imagery, which is the sixth mental skill of a successful athlete. Mental imagery. I prepare myself for competition by imagining myself performing well in competition. Do you visualize yourself performing well and successfully completing those tasks before you even compete? Okay, great. Number 20, I create and use mental images that are detailed, specific, and realistic. Detailed, specific, and realistic. Okay, great. Nice. Number 21, I use mental imagery during competition to prepare for action and recover from errors and poor performances. Yeah, this is a good one. Nice. Okay, the seventh skill is dealing with anxiety. And the reason why this is part of the assessment is because we all face anxiety and fears, right? We all face nervousness. So how do we deal with it? That's why this is so important to assess. Number 22, I accept anxiety as part of my sport. 10 being heck yes, 0 being no, not at all. All right, good. 23, I realize that some degree of anxiety can help me perform well. Great. 24, I know how to reduce anxiety, meaning decrease it, lower it, when it becomes too strong without losing my intensity. Great. Okay, good. The eighth skill of a successful athlete is dealing with your emotions. 25, I accept strong emotions such as excitement, anger, and disappointment as part of the sport experience. Yeah, great. Nice. 26, I am able to use these emotions to improve rather than interfere with high-level performance. All right, very nice. The last skill, the ninth skill of a successful athlete, according to this assessment, is concentration. How are you able to concentrate? 27, I know what I must pay attention to during each game and sport situation. Great. 28, during competition, I'm able to maintain focus and resist distractions, whether they come from the environment or come from within myself. All right. 29, in competition, I'm able to regain my focus when I lose concentration. Great. All right. And the last question of this assessment is, I have learned how to play in the here and now without regard to either past or future events. All right. So these are the questions of this assessment. So I'm just going to show you a little bit of how to score it. when you do it, don't worry about doing this now or trying to figure it out now. This is just an activity and exercise, but you would put your total number in each thing. You would add it all up. You would divide it by 60 and then times it by 100. And that's your percentage score in each one. And it's interesting to see which one's the highest and which one's the lowest. And you look at, okay, wow, my goals and commitment is really high, but dealing with my emotions is really low. Now, what can I do? What area can I look at when my dealing with emotions is really low? How does that impact everything else in my game? Or what are things that I can develop and learn to increase that score a little bit? So I'm going to pause there. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Again, each of you will get the assessment just to do on your own and reflect, and you can actually do your score. And we'll get into real time on that. What stood out to you as you were reflecting on your own score with these questions and this assessment? I'm curious. And we'll use, you can raise your hand or you can just pop on. What stood out to you from going through that exercise? Yeah, Linda.
What stood out to me is I don't have any goals, specific goals.
Yeah, it was specific, detailed, and time bound, right? Mm-hmm. So we talk about SMART goals. Here in our academy, we talk about WHOOP, a different kind of formula that we use of identifying a wish, identifying the best possible outcome of attaining that wish, identifying an obstacle that might get in the way of attaining that wish, and then creating an if-then plan. And I can share a website that has this kind of developing goals and strategies. But that's something that I'll send to you. I'll remind myself to maybe give to Lydia to give to you.
Okay,
all right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Taz.
Kind of what I realized is I've never really thought about those questions, I don't think. So it's kind of like, I don't know what the word is, but yeah, I don't know what the word is.
Yeah. So awareness, right? It's like you never really thought about those questions the way that they were asking it. So now that you thought about it, Taz, if I can ask a follow-up question to that, what are you sitting with now that you're thinking about those questions? What are you feeling? What are you thinking?
I'm kind of feeling proud of myself because, like, on the part where it said you respect your like opponents, I thought that one was like the best, so I put like a 2, I think, or something close to that. And I am really good at like doing officials and stuff, like at a volleyball game. I always go and shake the hands of the officials because they put in a lot of time and effort to do that.
Yeah.
So it kind of like made me aware that that's good.
Yeah, good sportsmanship is really important. Learning. So I'm trying to teach my daughter. Learning how to win is great. It's easy when you win, but learning how to lose that's such a great lesson to learn as well. Great, thanks, Taz. Who else? What else stood out to you going through this exercise? Yeah, Lydia.
So I actually took this earlier today and I did the percentages and figured out where it was. And I was really surprised to see my weakest point, or the lowest score, I should say, was in concentration. And I thought I had good concentration, but really based on this survey was that my focus is good, but I can't keep that focus going from shot to shot, hole to hole. So my concentration based on this, and I see where this is coming from, is that I lose concentration going from hole to hole or shot to shot. So that kind of stood out for me taking in this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. I don't know how this assessment applies to golf per se, because golf, I mean, when you're playing in competition, they can be long rounds, right? 5, 6, even 7-hour rounds. For those who are playing in the Western Cup, you're telling us that you had like 7, 8-hour rounds. That's ridiculous. And how do you sustain concentration for a very long round? And Mark is a caddy on the LPGA tour, and he was telling stories about how a lot of times in between shots, players don't often think about their golf. Players are thinking about something else. So sustaining concentration for the entire time may sometimes seem unrealistic. So, but this is what Annika Sorenstam does really well. She has the think box and the play box. And it came from, Pia Nelson and Lynn Marriott from Vision 54. The think box is in your routine where you grab the club, you're checking the wind, you're gearing up for your pre-shot routine. You're in your head thinking the strategy, thinking of all these different things. But as soon as you cross over this line, this imaginary line, and you step into the play box, that play box is when you let go of all the thoughts. That's when you are kind of really locked in on your concentration in the zone. Of course, you're concentrating when you're checking the wind and figuring out, the distance or imagining the kind of shot you're wanting to hit. That requires concentration too. But I think that the concentration really begins when you step into that play box, where you have to just zone everything out, and you're just literally have that narrow external focus, or that really strong concentration that doesn't break, that can't easily be distracted. And I think that's a crucial thing to practice for golfers. Yeah, it has.
I think my coach has mentioned that before, because he was talking about how we need more behind the ball. We think about where we're going to land it and stuff like that. And then when you step up to hit your ball, you forget about all that and just swing the club, because if you're second guessing yourself while you're setting up and getting ready to hit, then you won't be fully committed to your shot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great. Mark.
Well, I would just share that it's important. It's important for me to know where the think box starts. And I've gotten in trouble before for violating that think box, or the execution box, because once the player's ready to hit that shot, I got to stop. There's no more talking. And there's been times when I tried to throw that extra bit of advice or thought, and it's the wrong time because they're already into they're ready to hit their shot. I think I shared with Coach Jonathan about getting a little trouble with that with Hollis when I caddied for her.
Yeah, Mark, can I ask you a follow-up question on that?
Yes. Yeah.
Do most of the players that you're caddying for on tour, do they normally have kind of a think box and an execution box? Like there's a line, and do you see them going into a different kind of concentration or zone?
A lot of them I do. Some of them, it depends on the player. It varies, but definitely the better players, there's a point when you can see that they're ready, they're focused, and they're ready to hit. And that's when, again, as a caddy, I got to know and say, no more. It doesn't matter if I'm saying something that is what I think is valuable or important. They're in their zone. Let them hit the shot. So yeah, I definitely think the best players, I think the players that struggle are thinking over the ball.
Yeah. What do you notice as a difference from just observing them when they're going into their execution box or their play box? What do you notice that's different in that moment for them?
Usually their eyes.
Yeah.
Their eyes are focused, and then they get over the ball. They take a lot of the good players. What I see is they take that one last look at the target, and then they go down and into their setup.
Yeah. So I love that you mentioned eyes, because when I was I coach, you let me know, right? And we're playing, she was playing at the KPMG, and I was following her, and I told her exactly what you're saying right now. She played really well in that event. That was a couple of years ago at the Atlanta Athletic Club, and we're in the practice rounds. Her eyes were all over the place. Like they were they're very blurry. Like it wasn't really zoned in. And on the range, all we didn't even hit any balls. I just had her kind of really do focus training on the range and just lock in on one target and just stay there. And then go to another target and just stay there. And I had her focus on clarity. Like you got to see the picture. You got to see that your target with absolute clarity. And your eyes have to be very sharp and narrowed in on your target, or just very clear and focused. Because when I see players overthinking, their eyes are kind of, it's not really locked in on anything. And so pay attention to that when you're playing as well. Think about your eyes, and see how clear you're seeing your picture or your shot, or seeing how clear you're seeing your target. Because it does make a difference, having that clarity of focus. And I love what you shared. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. Anyone else with that assessment? What stood out for you?
Hey, Dr. Park, can you bring that assessment back up real quick? I want to look at something real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
So as we're looking at this, I want you guys to think about something real quick. Over every golf shot, how many of these come into play? How many of these 9 come into play for every golf shot? What do you guys think?
Mark.
All of them.
Lydia says all of them. What do you think, Mark?
Was that when you were over the ball or the whole?
For just like from think box to play box.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, all of them at some point.
Yeah, Zoe says all of them in the chats too.
Yeah, I would definitely say all of them. So something that I'm looking at is I'm trying to understand this assessment a little deeper as well. I looked at it earlier and I walked through it as well. And I was just, as everybody is talking, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this, and every single one of these has a role in that shot, every single shot. Maybe aside from the people skills, if you're playing by yourself, but if you're in a tournament, those people skills are still going to come into effect. But all of those other ones, like your attitude, that goes right into your face, right? Your face being your focus. And then the second one is your attitude, right? That's right there in what we're talking about. And your attitude is a choice, right? And then your motivation, like, why are you even out there? You've set that intention before you even go to the tournament. And so like holding that tight to you, like, okay, this is why I'm even here. This is something that I want to do. And then with the goals, like I want to go back to, I'm sorry, you were new here. And
Linda?
Linda, you said something earlier that was interesting to me. You said you don't have any goals. That's what you gathered from, but how did you get here to this class tonight?
Well, I don't have any specific goals.
Okay. Yeah. So we all have a goal, right? We all have something that we're doing, and every single golf shot, you're going to set those little individual goals. Like, where do I want to hit the ball, right? And so taking all of these into account over a golf shot is going to be way overwhelming. But I think if you were just to look at all 9 skills separately without the breakdowns, then you would have attitude, motivation, goals, people skills, self-talk, imagery, anxiety, emotions, and concentration. And that would just be like a surface level. But looking at each of the skills under attitude, there's 6 different like ways you can look at your attitude and really define what your attitude is in here, right? And define what your motivation is up here, because look, guys, this right here is your supercomputer. And if you get this right, this has to listen. Everything has to listen to whatever is going into the supercomputer that you have going on. And so, Dr. Park, I really appreciate that you're bringing this assessment to us and helping us to understand a little bit deeper how each of these, I mean, they're all mental, they're not all mental skills, but most of them are mental skills, how we can look deeper into these mental skills as opposed to just saying, okay, I just need to focus more. I just need to concentrate more. It's way more than that. It's how do all of these skills play into each other to give you an overall picture of yourself and your mental performance.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. But so, part, and you may have seen this too, but like what Coach Jay is saying, and then we'll get to you, Mark, is within each mental skill, let's say attitude, there's a breakdown, and it shows you specifically some interventions and things that you can work on. So I love this winning versus mastery. A lot of times I heard this quote from, I think it was on social media or something. When you have a goal of walking to a certain distance versus the person who just loves the activity of walking. When somebody loves the activity of just walking because of the process of it, just fully enjoying it in the process of walking, they will walk typically 10, 100 times further than the person who sets a goal of wanting to walk at a certain distance. And so this mastery, like, I just want to learn how to do better in my short game because I love it. Like, I just want to get it closer. I want that feeling versus just focusing on winning all the time. So I love that. And that's built right into attitude. And I think it breaks it down with each of these skills on interventions and main points to focus on. So you can really break it down as opposed to, oh yeah, he has a bad attitude or she has a bad attitude. She just needs to fix her attitude. Well, how? Like, what do we even do to do that? So, Mark, let's go to you.
Well, I was going to say, I think when you're over the ball, if you're in a think box, you go through a lot of these. Once you're over the ball, it ought to be 100% concentration. And if thoughts come into your mind, that's the time you probably need to step back and reevaluate quickly and before you get back in there and make the shot. That's my opinion. That'll be full concentration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
No. I was done there.